Hey guys, hi, Adam with Graveline. I just wanted to drop in and quickly catch you up on the state of the Menendez Brothers case and the political developments that have impacted it. The last time that we spoke, the docudrama had just come out. There was a huge furor. Everybody was writing the district attorney, George Gascon, district attorney, then district attorney, to ask him to give the boys another chance at either a trial or a sentence. And barriers were going up in front of the House, and everybody was talking around about this all around the world. Now, fast forward to today, George Gascon lost his job with the November 5th election, and there's a new attorney, Nathan Hochman, and that has already led to some changes with regards to the treatment of the Menendez case, and I just want to break down what those specific changes are. I just also want to quickly establish, for those of you that don't have entire clarity, which is probably a lot of you, on the political landscape that already colored this trial. The brothers were tried twice, as most of you know. Now, there's a lot of confusion, and rightly so, about why each trial resulted in a different outcome. The main reason is because one trial minus the other trial is the O.J. Simpson trial. The O.J. Simpson trial occurred between both of the Menendez trials. So the first trial resulted in a hung jury and was declared a mistrial for both of the boys. They were tried actually separately, but it was still one trial. They each got their own jury. They considered its evidence for each of the brothers separately. In the second trial, which happened literally on the heels of the O.J. Simpson acquittal, I mean, it started the same month, there were several changes that were brought in. Now, why were these changes brought in? The district attorney at that time, who was Gil Garcetti, some of you guys might know about his son, Erik Garcetti, who was recently the mayor of Los Angeles, was, by all accounts, publicly humiliated and furious at losing the OJ trial. I think that most people sort of think that OJ was wrongfully acquitted. I know that I do. And so Garcetti used to joke after that trial that his tombstone was going to read "the man who lost the O.J. Simpson murder case." And he would tell his friends, my God, am I going to be defined by the case forever? So he leaned heavily on the judge, who was the same judge as the first trial in the Menendez trial, and asked him to tighten things up, make it much, much more difficult for these boys to get acquitted, because the OJ outcome could not happen again, according to Garcetti. So the judge pulled several pretty dirty tricks. The first thing was that the boys were not tried separately this time. They were tried together. So they were basically they were hooked to each other. If one was more guilty than the other, then they were both going to be guilty. The other thing was that the judge decided, based on what happened in the first trial, that abuse allegations could only be admitted to the courtroom this time around if they had a direct bearing on the brothers' state of mind right leading up to the killings. In other words, nothing from the ages of 0 to 18 for Erik or 0 to 21 for Lyle could be admitted as evidence of abuse. He also said any psychological abuse was de facto irrelevant. And then the other really big thing that Weisberg did, which changed everything, was that he refused to allow the option for the defense to argue an imperfect self-defense. And that's jargon, but essentially what it means is that the brothers claimed self-defense in the first trial. The reason that they claimed self-defense was because they said, we thought our parents were going to kill us. Now, were their parents going to kill them? No. But did the brothers reasonably and earnestly think that their parents were going to kill them? They would argue yes. I'm not saying this was the case, but this was the argument that the defense made, and therefore, if they were convicted with imperfect self-defense, then there was still a potential for a feasible manslaughter conviction rather than life in prison or death penalty. That was thrown out by the judge. He said there was no supporting evidence to establish that there was a potential for imperfect self-defense, which really put the jurors in a bind. Even the ones that were sympathetic, because their only choices then were to convict these brothers of first-degree murder or to let them go. So very long story short, that's what happened in the second trial. That's why the brothers got life without the possibility of parole. It was actually, rather than the death penalty, they've been in prison since. Okay, so fast forward up to now. After the docudrama came out, Gascon suddenly went much faster in his dealings with Garagos and the brothers. The Garagos is the brothers' representative attorney. And it seems that even though there had been a year back and forth of dealings with the case and whether or not to resentence it or to revisit the trial, with the docudrama coming out with the Ryan Murphy and the attention and the election, suddenly there's an answer. And Gascon made this big dramatic announcement, as you guys know, before the election. And he said, well, I'm going to have to give them a resentencing. And the resentencing will occur on December 11th, which was conveniently after the election. But unfortunately, Gascon lost by a landslide. He was already going to lose. It was very well known here in Los Angeles. He is seen as being responsible for a dramatic uptick in property and violent crimes. Is he responsible for it completely? Of course not. But the people made their voices known, and Gascon was taken out of office and replaced by Nathan Hochman, who is much tougher on crime. Now, that is very relevant because Hochman is trying to present this image of himself, which I believe is accurate, that he is going to not give the kind of leniency that Gascon had given to offenders and felons and shoplifters that so many people in this city have been outraged over and for which they voted him out of office. In order to do that, Gascon has to be very careful about just kind of blanket deciding one thing or another about these boys that did kill their parents. For whatever reason, they did kill their parents. We know that. And so as a result of that, Hochman came into office, and the judge who was going to preside over the December 11th hearing actually said, you know what, I need more time. There's 17 boxes of evidence. The DA has to review those boxes of evidence before the hearing. And so the hearing was rescheduled, was postponed to January 30th. Now, we did still have a hearing 2 weeks ago. What was that about? Well, essentially, the brothers' aunts, both of whom are very elderly, Joan Vandermeulen, who is Kitty's older sister, and then Terry Baralt, who is Jose's older sister, both spoke. They came out in favor of letting the brothers out. And it was argued that they might not be able to make this journey or commute, and so they had to be able to speak sooner rather than later. So the decision is going to be made for January 30th. I will say that we have to be open-minded. I think that while Hochman does want to appear tough on crime, I don't think it's going to be sort of like a Garcetti political, senseless, thoughtless, narcissistic situation like it was originally. I think that there's a lot more conscientiousness. I think Hochman is a good thinker. I think he has a good track record, and he's going to just take an independent look at the evidence, and he's just going to make clear that no matter what side he comes down on, it's not going to be out of a knee-jerk drive to do one way or the other. But he's certainly not going to come off appearing soft on crime, whatever it is. So that's pretty much the situation. There's just one other thing that I would throw in for people that want to keep listening to this. I want to add the caveat that the brothers have a new defense attorney. The defense attorney that they have had famously, or that they had in the 90s, Leslie Abramson, obviously, she's no longer working with them. She probably has not really worked since, because it was said that she was very deeply impacted by the outcome of the second trial. So the brothers also have had their savings, their parents' inheritance, really, it wasn't their savings, all spent on their defense is in the first and second trial, and they were declared indigent. So they have an attorney named Mark Garagos. Mark Garagos is a very well-known celebrity attorney. But Garagos has a list of some celebrity attorneys have lists of clients that are well liked. Others have lists of clients that are not so well liked. I would say that Garagos's client list is like pretty much like down the controversy line. These people aren't all loved. Some of them aren't liked at all. But for example, he has represented Winona Ryder when she was convicted of shoplifting, Chris Brown after he beat up on Rihanna, Colin Kaepernick when he claimed that the the NFL was colluding, Jussie Smollett, Hunter Biden. And on top of that, Garagos has had some investigations and legal troubles that he has dealt with in a personal matter. So all I would say is just don't get your hopes up too high for one outcome or the other, because even if the merits of the case, and everything that Hochman is doing is kosher, is all looking good for the boys, they don't have the same quality of legal representation that they had before with Abramson, only in the sense, I'm not saying that Abramson's a better lawyer. I'm just saying that I think that when the boys don't have the same kind of leverage either in the press because it's not a new case and they've already been convicted, or with their bank account because their parents' inheritance is drained, they have had less choice with regards to the attorneys that they choose. I think it's probably not great for them already to be lumped in on a list with some of these people who are clearly like not good players, not good faith actors. And I just can't be sure, as I was with Abramson, probably too much so with Abramson, that Garagos is going to put the brothers first in every situation. I really hope that he does, and I know that it's in his best interest to do so, but just look at that with a grain of sand. Anyway, I hope that this was somewhat clarifying. There's been a lot of just confusion and date changing and details, and not everything's really been in one place. So I hope that you guys got some value out of this. Let me know in the comment section. Give us a like, follow us, and come take a tour. We'll show you the Menendez Mansion and many other dark and twisted sites. Thanks a lot. Take care, guys.